The next student athlete who will be inducted into the class of 2013 is 1981 graduate Jack Carpenter. Jack had a distinguished career at Triton High School and beyond. Jack was an 8-time varsity letter winner, earning 1 letter in tennis, 1 letter in track, 2 letters in basketball, and 4 letters in golf. While at Triton, Jack was named to the NSC All-Conference basketball team, was twice named to the Times Union All-Area team, and was named the MVP in 1980 and 1981. He scored 965 career points, setting the all-time scoring record that was eventually broke by his son, Griffin Carpenter, and then broke most recently by current Triton player Clay Yo. Jack held the single-season scoring record with 558 points until it was broken last season by Clay Yo. He also held the most points in a single game with 42 until it was broken last year by, you guessed it, Clay Yo. Jack also experienced a very successful golf career at Triton. He made the NSC All-Conference team, was selected the team's MVP 3 seasons, and was the first individual golfer to advance to the regionals. Jack was also named the Male Athlete of the Year in 1981. When asked, former Triton boys basketball coach Harry Frick had this to say: "Jack was a real gamer, which is probably the best compliment you could pay a player. Jack was at his best when the competition was the toughest. He always practiced very hard, and looking back on it, was a very good role model because of his work ethic. Tough, smart, competitive. That would describe Jack." Jack enjoyed a successful basketball and golf career at Bethel College. In fact, he was selected to the Bethel College Athletics Hall of Fame in 2005. In basketball, Jack was twice named to the All-District team, once named to the All-American Honorable Mention team, once named to the Mid-Central Conference First Team. During his golf career at Bethel, Jack made the Mid-Central Conference First Team 2 years and was named All-District. Accepting the award tonight is Jack Carpenter himself. Congratulations, Jack. Thank you. This time, I officially induct Jack Carpenter into the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame.
Mason did say that if anybody wants to get up and leave at this time, that would be great, because I'd really love to talk to a smaller group. First and foremost, I want to thank God, for without him, I wouldn't be standing here today for what he has given to me. Mason, thank you so much for the introduction, for all you do, not only our athletic department, for my golf team, for all the athletic teams, but also the Hall of Fame induction as well. Mason did tell me last night if this speech sucked that I could still get my induction, so that's a relief too. I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. It's an honor to be going into the Hall of Fame with you. This induction takes on a very special meaning to me, seeing how my classmate from first grade on up, Kurt Krept, is also being inducted. We have a lot of great memories together from that Tippecanoe School all the way to graduation. Some of my fondest memories with Kurt is when we used to stand outside the office in the mornings talking about his track meets and my golf matches always paled in comparison to his wonderful times. I want to thank the committee for thinking so highly enough of me to recognize me with such an award. To be mentioned with other athletes such as Rich Rhodes and Dan Sharp and Max Trowbridge and Lori Feldman and others is truly an honor. Being the first 4-letter golfer to be inducted into the Hall of Fame has a special feeling to me as well. With any award such as this, there are so many people responsible for helping along the way that it would be impossible for me to mention all of them. Thinking back, I'd like to mention 2 of my best friends, John Bates and Mel Trowbridge. They were there with me a lot of times when we played pickup games at the park, at my house. We just were buddies through and through. Coaches along the way included Coach Meshberger in 7th grade, Coach Johnson in 8th grade, Coach Campbell in 9th grade and also JV, Coach Miller, and then Coach Frick at the varsity level. And then also Coach Ron Smith, who I had in golf. Personally, I want to thank all my family members that are here tonight to support me. Jeff and Rita, Pam, the newlyweds Kyle and Jen, my sister-in-law Lana, my sister Dawn and her husband Jerry, my brother Dave and his wife Penny, my parents, my daughter Lindsay, sons Griffin Q, and my wife Lisa. To get an honor like this, many, many people help, and they've been instrumental along the way. I wasn't real sure how to approach this speech tonight since I'd just given one for the College Hall of Fame at Bethel, and I didn't want to duplicate the same words. So tonight I'm just going to share some special memories with you and special people that helped along the way before I headed off to college. Now, I'm not sure when I started the love of the game for basketball, but it just seemed growing up that basketball was in my hand 24 hours a day. No matter where I was at, it was with me, and I absolutely loved it. I never looked at playing golf or basketball as work. It's just what I love to do, and I did it, and I still do today. Any opportunity I could find to play, I did. Didn't matter whether it was by myself or whether it was with friends. I didn't pick up golf as early as I did basketball, but I remember the time that I was hooked. My dad brought home a set of clubs for me that he had gotten at a garage sale, $45. I can't buy a club today for my sons for even close to that, let alone a whole set. I used that entire set my entire high school career, believe it or not, and I was thrilled when I went to college and Dad bought me a new set. As I was contemplating what to say tonight, I wanted to mention events and people that came to my mind right away. I didn't want to have to think too hard about it, and you'll be surprised at the experiences that I actually remember and don't. Let me start with the two coaches that impacted my golf and basketball growth as a high school person. First of all, Coach Ron Smith, actually a fellow Hall of Fame inductee, 28 years of golfing experience. He's really the first person in golf that showed me how to be disciplined, how to look at the strategic part of golf and course management, rather than just trying to pound that golf ball as far as I could. There was no on-course coaching back then. Pretty much, when we teamed up, we were on our own until the 9 holes was up. He couldn't be on the course with us. So when we prepared for an unfamiliar course, you paid close attention to him. He was a coach that everyone respected, also as a teacher, and he treated you with respect as well. I can't tell you how many lessons I learned from him as a player and then as a coach. I'm so glad that I took over for him when he retired to continue what he had started. Secondly, Coach Frick. I'm so happy that he's here tonight. For those who remember, it was not the most popular coach immediately coming into Triton, and that was me included. We had 6 returning seniors that year. 3 of them were cut, and 1 eventually quit. And I will say I had a chip on my shoulder because of that. It just left John and me. Although I was upset, my love for the game was not going to stop me from giving my best. I grew to respect how he helped me grow as a player. He was the first coach to really isolate my weaknesses and design individual drills to help improve those areas. I can't tell you the number of times him and I were at the old gym, dribbling around chairs, working on that crossover, hiding that ball behind the thigh. Those workouts were instrumental for me that senior year, and he really set me up for my college level. I would have never been prepared without the work that he gave me that senior year. Thank you so much, Coach Frick. I truly am honored to have you here today. As I reminisce about my high school career, very few games or golf matches actually come to mind. What I remember most is how much time I practiced and prepared myself to play. A few things that I do remember, though. Back in 5th grade, we were kind of cocky back then, and we had some banter going with the 6th grade players on who was best. Mrs. Romine was my teacher, and somehow she was able to organize a game that we played during the school day, got out of class, went down to the old gym. All the students were there. It was one of the most awesome games I was ever part of. Students screaming, yelling, what a great time it was. The unfortunate thing is the bigger 6th graders whooped our butts. Our egos took a blow that day, but it was a great time. As far as my high school experience, only 4 games really stand out, and one of them you'll be surprised for the reason. It was a Whitco game. We were playing at home. The radio station was there that night. Back then, the radio station was on the home side, about the 3rd or 4th row up. We were making a comeback because we were behind that game. I'd made a steal at half court, went in for a layup, got undercut, went down, and fell on my arm, unfortunately. My grandparents, who could never attend the games because of my grandpa's health, always recorded the games on the radio for me and gave them to me later. While listening to the tape later, I heard a very familiar voice in the background yelling a very unflattering remark to Coach Patrick across the floor, the same Coach Patrick who's at Valley now. That voice, as you can imagine, was my brother. I still have the tape today to remind me of how he got into those games. The other time was during the same game, and this deals with Coach Frick as well. On the way to the hospital, we were in the ambulance. He rode along with me and my mother. When we got to the hospital, I remember the nurse saying, "Coach, is this one of your better players?" His response was, "I wouldn't be here if it was a JV kid." The other 3 games, I'll just lump into one. It was my senior year, sectional at Triton. For those of you who don't remember, didn't have the great experience, this was under the one-class system. The sectionals back then were packed from bottom to top. Plus we had portable bleachers that we put at each end. There was about this much a room of out of bounds. We had defeated Valley in the first game, who we had lost to in the regular season. We defeated Wawasee in the second game, who we had lost in the regular season to. The papers, I think, read that day it would be David versus Goliath. We played Warsaw in the finals. We were down 26 or 27 to 12, I think, at halftime. Myself as a player, I think I'd only gotten off 2 shots. Warsaw had a great defense. But the thing I remember most was coming out at halftime. When we come out for the third quarter, as every player would do, I looked at my dad a lot. Whether that was good or bad, I don't know. But this one time I looked at my father, and his response was much different than normal. He simply looked at me, he smiled, and clapped his hands. Normally I looked at him, it was one of these things, which simply meant I wasn't moving fast enough on offense, or I was standing still. Or it was one of these, I wasn't following through or extending my hand when shooting. Or it was one of these, you're playing stupid. And I got an uplifting feeling that night. And the third quarter, I believe, I was sharing with Coach Frick, we were down 15, and we had a chance actually to take the lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Eventually, we ended up losing to them by 10. We got into a foul situation. They'd make them, we'd miss, and so on and so forth. But I think those are probably 3 of the most exciting games that I ever played in, college, high school, whatever. And when I think of my high school career, those are the 4 games I think of. As a golfer, there are 2 matches that stick out to me, and both of them end up turning out sour. I was playing for the conference individual championship. We had tied in the regulation 18 holes. I went into a playoff at Plymouth Country Club, and I lost on the first hole. To make matters worse, I flipped my putter to my bag when I lost, and the head of my putter came off. Now, I want to emphasize to my boys, I flipped it, I did not throw it. They'll understand why. And then there was the regional golf tournament that I qualified in LaPorte. I was probably playing my best 15. I played the best 15 holes in my life up to this point. I don't know if it was pressure or I realized how close I might be to qualify for state, and then totally choked off the final 3 holes, not to even come close to qualifying. Now, you would think I would remember something happier than this, but I think these are the moments that drove me to get better and to work even harder to make myself a better golfer and a better player. My family. My sister, Gina, is not here today, but she was too young to have any impact upon me. My sister, Dawn. My motivation from her was this. We were a year apart. She was younger than me. I didn't want to be around her. I didn't want her anywhere near my space. We argued about the car. We argued about who would get it first, who would pay for the gas. So my motivation was to get away from her, which meant I went outside to play ball. The most influential people growing up was my brother and my parents. Having an older sibling to look up to and emulate was a great motivator. Whatever he did, I wanted to do better. Wherever he went, I wanted to go. I tagged along as much as he would allow me. I pushed myself so hard so I could play with the big boys, so to speak. He was going to let me play. I couldn't make him look bad. He has been a great support, and I can't ever remember him missing a game, college, or high school. No, I got one incident I'll share with you with him. I've always been an early riser, up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I continue that practice today. And I used to get up before school and go outside, play basketball, run, when my dad got up to go to work. Well, I always had asked my brother to come play with me in the mornings, and normally he wouldn't do it because he just wasn't a morning person. Well, one day he finally decided to do that. So we met outside, and I had this beautiful orange sweatsuit that I absolutely loved that my parents had bought me. Orange was my favorite color back then. I played in it every morning. Well, this morning we played one-on-one. I was probably about 11 or 12 years old. And for some reason that day during the game, my brother intentionally trips me, tearing a hole in my favorite sweatsuit, ending our game and any further invitations to play with me. Dave was a big softball player, and I remember tagging along with him wherever he might be. I didn't go to watch him play. I went to find the nearest park so that I could play a game or find someone to play with. Sometimes this would be Manchester, Rochester, South Bend. It didn't matter to me as long as there was a park available. Dave, your support and encouragement was appreciated more than you'll ever know. Thank you. My parents. My dad, the disciplinarian, the tough love kind of guy. My mom, she was the one you went for comfort. Like most parents, they made sure I had everything I needed, and they never missed an activity to show their support to me. From my parents, I got the greatest gift I could have ever gotten. It was a drive to succeed and a work ethic second to none. I remember my dad putting in 12 hours a day, many days consecutively at Donnelly's. Yet he'd still come home, work in the garden, do chores, and then find time to be with us. My parents instilled in me not only the great work ethic, but also an understanding of that work ethic. I had daily chores to do, and they were to be done right, or they would be done again. The attention to quality and detail has carried over into all aspects of my life. Many times after a practice or a game, I come home and go out to my court or go up to the Atna Green Park where there were lights. It didn't matter what the weather conditions or the temperature was. I didn't have the luxury of an indoor shed, as my spoiled sons do. As a matter of fact, my first basket was hung on the side of the barn with a grass floor. I quickly wore the grass out and played with a dirt foundation. I came in sometimes very muddy. I'm sure Mother had a fit cleaning my clothes. One of the happiest days of my childhood was when Dad decided to tear down the ends of the barn so I had a cement floor to play on. All I had to do was shovel it in the wintertime. I never had to be told any time to go out and play. I simply loved doing it. Some of my best memories are from playing on the courts in Atna Green. You'd be surprised that only myself and Mike Thomas were the only two basketball players that played there. But kids like Rick Huffer, Todd Huffer, Dave Burgess, and Jim, Jeff, and John Kleinfeld and Randy Miner played with us constantly. The biggest games, though, at the Atna Park were when we played the trailer court kids. Nothing got us more excited than having those boys come to our court and whooping on them. Having high expectations of myself and others has always been a part of my DNA. My parents had high expectations of us, and I just inherited that trait. I'd always believed that hard work makes up for a lot of flaws. When my sons started playing basketball, I put a phrase in the shed for them: hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I truly believe this statement. You can't be afraid of hard work. It will take you great places. One thing is for sure about being here tonight is that I did not do it alone. Being part of this Hall of Fame is as much about the coaches, the friends, the teammates, and especially my immediate family that have encouraged, pushed, criticized, supported, inspired, believed, and even opposed me. To them, I say thank you. I'm so very proud to be given this honor, and I will continue to work hard to represent Triton as a Hall of Fame inductee, a coach, and a teacher of our great students. While I've now achieved a college and high school Hall of Fame, my top priority continues to be a Hall of Fame son to my parents, a Hall of Fame father to my kids, and a Hall of Fame husband to my wife, with the ultimate goal being a Hall of Fame in God's eyes. Again, I thank you very much, and may God bless every one of you as He has blessed me. Thank you.
You know, Jack mentioned Coach Smith, and I should let you know that he and I spoke on the phone. He's actually in Arizona right now and couldn't make it tonight, but he wanted to pass along his wishes and had a lot of great things to say about Jack. You know, Jack has a very special place in my life. He was my fourth grade teacher. And of any year in elementary school that stands out, it's my fourth grade year. And it's because of the fun, entertaining, and positive style of educating that Jack has. I can remember talking with Jeremy Riffle about Jack moving from the classroom into PE. And I said, Jeremy, I really hate that because he's such a great teacher. And he's going to miss out having that opportunity to touch those kids in the classroom. And Jeremy said to me, Mason, you're right. In the classroom, though, he only has the opportunity to touch about 20 to 30 kids. In PE, he has an opportunity to touch the over 600 kids in the elementary school. Jack, I thank you for instilling in me a love for teaching. You've been a tremendous mentor for me and someone who I've looked up to, and I congratulate you on this great honor.